Welcome to another VeChain price update. So as you can see, VeChain still did not get to the 200% extension. We are still expecting it to get to that, and that is at about 4.9 cents. And until we do that, I cannot confirm that a third wave is in. But after we do that, we should be able to confirm that it's in. Now, of course, the third wave could overextend to the 2.272 extension or maybe even the 2.618. And I would not be surprised if that happened, but the minimum target is this right here, and then after that we should get a fourth and a fifth wave, and once we get these 5 waves I will be able to confirm that the main second wave move down is in. Nothing has really changed since the last update, but in this update I want to talk about something entirely different. But before I do that, I want to tell you that these 5 waves will confirm that the first wave right here is in, and this will be the first wave of the main third wave move to the upside. Now, before I continue with the wave count, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said many times, VeChain has a lot of potential to go to new all-time highs in this cycle. I know that sounds kind of crazy. The all-time high was at like 27 cents, and right now VeChain is at like 4 cents. But trust me, we have not had an altcoin season yet, and I believe the altcoin season will happen very soon. I will explain why as well after I talk about the wave count. First, let's continue with this. So after we get these 5 waves, which should ideally get above the first wave high, they don't have to, but I would like to see that. After we get these 5 waves, I would like to see a second wave move down, and then we should get a third wave over a third wave, and that will be the most bullish time of the cycle, and that's what I'm expecting VeChain to actually start the real altcoin season. So until that happens, we will not have a real altcoin season. And the third wave right there should get to approximately 23 cents, which is the 200% extension of this 1-2 setup that we started last year in June. And then we should get a fourth and a fifth, and the fifth wave should ideally put us somewhere between, let's say, 35 cents and 55 cents. It could go higher, it could go lower. All I know is that we should get to at least like 30 cents in this cycle, but that's the bare minimum, considering the fact that in the previous cycle we went to 27 cents. Now let's go on the monthly chart just to remind you what we're doing right now. In the previous cycle, VeChain went up in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup to form a first wave move. Then in the bear market, we formed an ABC structure in a second wave move down, and right now we are going in a third wave move, which, the target for that third wave move is the 200% extension of this 1-2 setup, and that is at $55. That's not realistic right now. This will obviously not happen in this cycle. This might never happen. I mean, it all depends on what VeChain does in the next 20 years or so. So if it actually manages to survive the next 20 years, then I could see it at like $55, but this could always fail. Right now, what we are doing in this cycle is we are tracking the first 5 waves of the first wave of the main third wave up there. So keep in mind, this is just a long-term projection. These usually do not play out, so don't expect VeChain to get to like $55 overnight, but do expect it to get to like 55 cents in this next bull market. Now, I also want to talk about Bitcoin dominance because I promised I will. Well, actually, I want to talk about Bitcoin dominance and about the Bitcoin halvings. So let me put that on the chart. You will understand why I am showing you this very soon. So I first wanted to see what happened in 2016 after we had a Bitcoin halving. So 234 days after the halving, Bitcoin dominance just dumped and it continued dumping, and this is when we had the first altcoin season ever. Keep that in mind, 230 days after the halving. In this cycle, 238 days after the halving, that confirmed that a top was in for the Bitcoin dominance chart, and that triggered the altcoin season. And right now, in this cycle, we've also had a halving this year, and if we go 230 days into the future, that puts us right here in December of 2024. If we are copying what we did in the previous 2 cycles, then Bitcoin dominance should start dropping very soon. Now, maybe it has already started. Maybe this is when Bitcoin dominance stopped, and that would be 215 days after the halving, so it would be a lot earlier than what happened in the previous cycle. If this is actually the top, then Bitcoin dominance should continue going down, and it should continue going down in December, January, February, and for actually the rest of the next year. Now, what would confirm that the Bitcoin dominance top is in? Well, we would need a break below the bull market support band. As you can see, we are actually at the bull market support band right now. Well, we are like 1% away from it. And I believe we will test it very, very soon. If we get below it, I think that will confirm that the top is already in. As you can see, we already got rejected by the 0.618 extension right here. So, like I predicted, Bitcoin dominance is likely to have topped at 60%. But, if we want to somehow put in a new top, which is very unlikely to happen right now, but if we want to do that, we should stay above the bull market support band. If we do not stay above it, then I think that will trigger the altcoin season, and VeChain and some other altcoins, well, actually all altcoins will finally get the altcoin season that they have been waiting for the past 4 years now. Well, no, like 3 years. I also want to look at Bitcoin for a second. And why am I showing you all of this stuff? Well, because it's important. I mean, if you understand what's happening with Bitcoin and with Bitcoin dominance, then you will also understand what's happening with VeChain. At the end of the day, if Bitcoin dominance continues to go down, then VeChain will go up. And if Bitcoin goes sideways, then VeChain goes sideways as well. So let's actually see what's happening with Bitcoin. As you can see, the daily chart looks a bit bearish, but you have to keep in mind we are no longer overbought here, so this is a good sign. And I don't know if a fourth wave move down has started, or if this is just a fake out, or if we will actually get to the 300% extension in the third wave. So there is potential that the third wave just overextends again and again and again, because, that's what a third wave does. And honestly, I'm not expecting a correction on the Bitcoin chart because, as you know, or maybe you don't know, Bitcoin does not usually go down in December of halving years. For example, in 2016, Bitcoin went up like 30% in December, and in 2020 it went up like 40%, so it does not usually go down in December of the halving year, which leads me to believe that this is just a fake out right here, and I think it is possible for Bitcoin to reach new all-time highs yet again in December. Now, how high? Well, probably like 120k to 130k, somewhere around that region. And then we should get some type of correction. Because as you know, or like I said, maybe you don't know, Bitcoin usually goes down in January, and Bitcoin dominance also goes down in January. So I think that will happen, and it doesn't matter if the altcoin season starts this year or next year. All I know is that the altcoins are still expected to get some crazy moves. And I'm still expecting Bitcoin to get to about 255k in this cycle. And I know that sounds crazy, but trust me, it's not really that crazy. I mean, I have been predicting that Bitcoin will go to 100k by the end of the year since we were down here. So that's not really a crazy prediction to believe that it will get to 255k, considering the fact that we just had a halving. And if you look at what happened in the previous cycles after the halving, as you can see in 2012, Bitcoin proceeded to go up another 364 days after the halving, so it topped about 1 year after the halving. Now, if we take this cycle, it topped about 540 days after the halving, and in the previous cycle, it topped about 550 days after the halving, so maybe we'll follow what we did in the last 2 cycles, and if we do that, and if we don't top earlier like we did in this cycle right here, then this cycle should last until October of 2025. So that's when I'm expecting Bitcoin to top. Now, if we are topping 1 year after the halving like we did in 2012, that puts us in April of 2025. So no matter what, I'm still expecting Bitcoin to go up. And if that happens, then of course VeChain will go up as well. It's only a matter of time until the altcoins start moving again. And keep in mind, some altcoins have already started moving, so, remember when Dogecoin started to get this move right here and everybody was just buying it out of fear that they will not be able to buy it again at lower prices? Remember when I told you that there is potential for the other altcoins to go up because meme coins usually go up first and then the altcoins follow it? Well, look at what happened a few weeks later after Dogecoin had this pump. Cardano also had this pump. Actually, not a few weeks later, I think that was a couple of days later, Cardano also had a pump. And not only Cardano, XRP also had a pump, Polkadot also had a pump, many altcoins had a pump as well. So there are some altcoins that are lagging right now. VeChain is obviously not one of them. I mean, it already went up like 2x, so VeChain is doing just fine. And as I said, the halving happened like 230 days ago, which means that the altcoins and Bitcoin should continue to go up for another like 300 days from where we're at right now. And if you look at what happened in 2020 cycle, if you want to specifically only talk about VeChain, it took VeChain about 336 days to top after the halving. So if we do the exact same thing in this cycle, VeChain could top in April of 2025. Now, of course, it is likely that here it actually topped way earlier than it was supposed to. And if that's the case, then VeChain should continue to follow Bitcoin. And if that happens, then VeChain is likely to top in October rather than April or May. But even then, I mean, I'm not expecting the altcoins or Bitcoin to top anytime soon. And if anybody is saying that right now, if anybody is saying that we are actually close to topping on everything, just don't believe them. I mean, I think that's just a bunch of nonsense. And yeah, that's what I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.